Blondie, who brought glamour and style to the post-punk late 70s, started 1999 with a #1 single and kicked off their comeback in a way that made it seem like it was only yesterday that they'd had their last #1, The Tide Is High. In fact, Maria was the first release for 17 years and reached #1 exactly 20 years after Heart of Glass made the top spot. The band started out in 1974 playing New York clubs as punk took hold, and all eyes were on lead singer Debbie Harry, who combined her innocent beauty with a tough street attitude. It was a winning combination that led to an independent record deal in 1976. Their self-titled debut album caused a stir in the UK and led to the band signing with a major label. Blondie kept touring, word spread that they were something hot, and following the release in 1977 of their second album, Plastic Letters, they broke through. At the start of 1978, Denis topped the charts in the UK and heralded the start of what was to become a rollercoaster ride of hit after hit. Now I'm always touched by your presence, dear. 1979 saw them hit #1 in the States for the first time with the disco-edged Heart of Glass, taken from the album Parallel Lines. They'd hit the big time with international success, but behind the scenes, the cracks were beginning to appear as rows started to break out. The fans, blissfully unaware of any personality clashes, loved Blondie, and here in the UK, they made it to the top of the singles charts 3 times again in 1980 alone. The tide is high, but I'm holding on. They bowed out quietly after the 1982 album The Hunter, and for the most part went their separate ways. My skin cries, my blood sighs, but I still owe some dread on this tide. Now they've returned with the eclectic and critically acclaimed album No Exit, and are happy to talk about the past as they look forward to ending the millennium with Blondie back on top.
You've decided to come back after such a long time away. Whose idea was the reunion?
I was approached by this guy from our management company, and he sort of fed me this scenario of what it would be like. And he gave me this whole spiel about how, you'll be there, you'll come out on stage, and they'll say, it's Blondie, and da-da-da. Anyway,
he took it, he bit.
Yeah,
he went for it, yeah.
And I sort of pictured it in my head in a different way than I had in the past. And the reality of it seemed a little more credible than I had considered it. So I tried to convince Debbie.
It's actually very déjà vu. I have this theory that musicians perhaps live in dog years, and not that much time has actually passed. It's it seems very much the same as when we stopped, especially being in the UK.
You must feel very proud as writers and musicians that, in fact, you are in a position to come back now, and people do love those songs that you wrote 20-odd years ago.
Well, that's the good thing. It's like the songs have such a long half-life. They lasted beyond the length of the original span of the band. And the songs went on and on and on. And due to certain remixes and re-releases, even though we didn't like them so much, it took a whole other generation came on board with it.
There's a lot of fans here that kind of grew up with Blondie, so now they actually get to see us in the flesh. They kind of never imagined it would happen, and I kind of share their excitement.
Did you ever imagine that it would happen again for you?
In the back of my mind, I thought perhaps someday it would. I was aware of the fact that the music never kind of went away, and obviously Debbie had to want to do it, and the time seems right now with the this turn of the century and all these other things that are going on. So I think we're trying to fight the ageism factor of rock and roll.
It took a little doing, and we sort of just sort of approached it slowly and built up our concept over a couple of years, and brought it all together and finally put out a record.
You were rehearsing back in 1996, weren't
Yeah,
you?
this has been going for 3 years now.
Yeah.
3 years, so it's not like you've rushed this.
No.
It's not the kind of thing that could be rushed, really. It
Yeah.
has to be sort of maneuvered.
Took a little while to put all the pieces together.
And timing is important.
Yeah.
It's kind of seeing all the interest building up all through the 90s and the fans. Every time Debbie and me would do a solo thing, they would all say, you know, oh, where's Blondie? Why can't we call this Blondie? All this stuff. It just seems we're getting a lot of acceptance now. I think the record. Actually, the final thing will be how the record is accepted. The reviews will probably be mixed, but I think the fans will go for it.
Like a millionaire walking on in 40 land. It makes you wanna die. Yeah.
Did you have any reservations about or getting back together again and writing and recording?
Oh, writing and recording, no. I mean, we always knew we could go in the studio and do what we can do because all of us, each of us individually, have been sort of studio people for the past 16 years. I mean, he's been working in the studio, I've been producing records, Chris the same, and Debbie's been performing for us. So the studio was no problem, no fear. Actually, that was the thing that really got us going. Hey, we're gonna go in the studio and make a record. It's like giving a kid a box of crayons.
I would have been a bit more, in fear of just kind of coming back and having this real sort of shallow experience, just kind of going out and playing the hits, which we love to play. But, creating new music was first and foremost in our minds.
I had some musical reservations, but really not a lot of musical reservations. I don't know, just, I guess we just talked about it, and it seemed to, I sort of said, well, okay, let's sort of test the waters and see how it goes and, see what the interest is. And because we did build it up slowly, it did become sort of more logical.
If you forgive me my ferocity, I won't forget your sweetness.
I think everybody's focus is a lot better, for sure, and musicianship has improved. Definitely, we're all more focused.
Yeah, I'm sort of now at this stage, having, got this far with the project, that I'm sort of curious to see where we go with it. I think that technically we might really do something, I would hope, a little bit more adventurous.
We're all a little older and more accepting of each other's faults and frailties, and we still get on each other's nerves a bit, but I think it's more about logistics and musical things than direct personality things. I don't think that comes into effect anymore. I think we've really been through the mill, and we realized that what pulled us apart the first time was not necessarily any dissatisfaction with one another personally, but was people all around us that were sort of pecking at us. And there's always been like a thing, sort of an attack on Blondie in order to like get at them, get in one's ear and say something about the other one, that was coming from the outside. And we really had a lot of bad business arrangements and problems around us. And without that, when just 4 of us in a room, we realized we're the same people that were, playing on the Bowery together and rehearsing in little lofts and sharing cheese sandwiches in the beginning. So it's a different situation. You feel more comfortable with these people. For me, the 16 years off were more surreal than the time we're together.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it just feels so natural to be with these people. It feels very, very natural.
We've all gone off and had our life experiences, and we've all collaborated with other musicians through the years, and we bring all that to the table when we come back together. And I think everyone respects that of one another now.
How close have you been in those 16 years?
When we broke up, we were in the deep financial restraints because we owed a lot to ex-managers and lawyers and record companies and stuff. Even though we sold a lot of records, a lot of the monies went scattered to those bills,
So the myth that you kind of managed to retire for life.
Yeah, well,
really a myth.
we were comfortable, but at the same time, they made an offer to us like, hey, we'll give you a big sum of cash, give us your rights and your publishing and stuff. And we said, oh no, we kept our businesses together. So we kept those businesses alive, and we ought to keep in touch with each other for that reason.
You speak very regularly, don't you?
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
And always have.
yeah. We're still very good friends.
Yeah, very good
Yeah.
friends, if not relatives.
Yeah.
You must feel like relatives, because I suppose you've spent an extraordinary amount of time together and shared experiences no other people really can relate to.
Yep.
That you must almost be able to read each other like books.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that we come to the same conclusions quite separately, and call each other up and say blah 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 blah. I say yeah blah 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 blah, and it's sort of whoop. We always seem to fold in together somehow. Our ideas and our development seems to correspond. So, I guess we're just well, I don't know what.
Like-minded.
Peas in the pod? I don't know.
It wasn't until Chris started calling all of us, it was his idea to do this, that we really realized that, hey, we could actually sit and have conversations for more than an hour without looking at our watches and being comfortable with each other. And it'd be good, So,
After the break, we take a closer look at the ups and downs that forced Blondie to split. Plus, Chris and Debbie talk about love at CBGB's.
I remember making out in the alley behind it, CBGB's, but it wasn't.
Your original ambitions for Blondie when you were kind of scratching a living at CBGB's. I mean,
I don't think we ever scratched a living there, no.
Well, you performed there. You were regular there for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
one
we didn't
time,
make any money there.
So you didn't even scratch a living there.
No.
We played 7 months for a row every weekend at one point. That was
Yeah.
a big deal. But I would try just to make a record, I guess that was the main ambition of everybody. Yeah.
I just really wanted to figure out, how to do what I wanted to do, and to, really discover things about myself, and, to really feel some kind of, I don't know, satisfaction in performance, and I would experiment.
Initially, I just wanted to have a date with Debbie anyway. So.
You got it.
Date with Debbie, yeah.
Because that was the first time, am I right, that you saw Debbie?
Yeah, it was
Tennessee.
under theatrical circumstances.
Yeah.
What was your first impression?
Oh, I just was really impressed all around. I just saw, and I was reading the Mojo piece, where I'm supposedly wanted to, take care of her body, soul, possess her entirely. I mean, I don't know. I thought Debbie was a good singer and extremely attractive, but I don't know if I thought much beyond that. I certainly didn't say, we're gonna, I'm gonna get this girl and we're gonna go all the way to the top. I don't think that was part of it, really.
I certainly was aware of Debbie's charisma when I first met her. So there was a instant chemistry, man-woman thing, perhaps, attractive woman and, a guy looking at the attractive woman. And so that was a chemistry there. And I was always impressed by their songwriting real early on. And certainly when we got Jimmy in the group, soon thereafter, I think it became pretty, very self-evident right away that there was a chemistry there.
Were you always aware of the fact that it was Debbie that was always going to be the front runner as far as public perception of the band?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, we always, I mean, it upset some people more than others about that. But I was always pleased to have a superstar to write songs for.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
The moment you saw Debbie, did you realize that she had that X
Absolutely.
factor?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I did.
Absolutely. As soon as I saw her, I said, Jesus.
Is she a songwriter's dream?
Yeah. And she's a great songwriter herself.
There was a massive media intensity surrounding Blondie and essentially you two, that must have been very hard to deal with, because that's really when it was at its peak.
The media is a lot like that game of telephone, you know, where you whisper in the next person's ear, and then...
Chinese whispers.
Yeah, is that what that's called? Here, all right. And by the time it goes around the circle, it's completely convoluted and twisted. So, like, for example, on the Behind the Music thing, it has us doing in the bathroom at CBGB's, which I really don't recall. And it's probably something I would have
neither of us can remember
But
that.
it then filters through to every piece of press I've read on you recently.
No, because, yeah, I know.
Hilly said
Because-
that.
Well,
and
Hilly,
he's-
no, because in the Behind the Music thing, there's Hilly, and he's saying, well, he thinks his wife walked in, but he's not sure. All right, so then the people,
Right,
then they
okay,
tell
right.
it to Joey Ramone. They say, well, Hilly said that they were doing it. So Joey Ramone says, yeah, well, that's really romantic. And from then on, it's just like,
That's written in
That's it.
stone,
And
yeah.
then you guys must have been so in love to have been
Yeah.
able to get it on in such a disgusting
right.
toilet.
I remember
Yeah.
making out. I remember making out in the alley behind it, CBGB's, but it wasn't.
Even better, right? Ooh.
Alleys and toilets. He
Yeah.
sure showed you a good time, didn't he?
It was a cheap
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
But those days at CBGB's, when you were, because you were all living in a loft together at that point as well, weren't you? Are those happy memories for you? Because you didn't have that kind of
Sure,
pressure
it was
from the
great.
record
No, I mean,
company.
it was such a great period because you could. It was just a great all-around period. There's so many things that I have connected to that. It was just fun, you know. It's funny because Clem and me were talking that neither of us knew what the hell Saturday Night Live was because we were always out on Saturday night all through that period.
Yes.
We were little stars in the local scene, and big fish in a very small pond, you know. And I was very happy. I was very happy to like have my club that I could go to, walk around, strut in front of my girls, go play my show, and to have fun. We are the stars of the local scene. And then it got scary a little when taken out of that, and you absolutely nobody. But then what the opposite thing happened to us, we were taken out of that, and we had a #1 hit in Australia. And we went from playing those small clubs into big stages. And all of a sudden, we were out there, and we came here. And we
How do you get your head around that? Because that is a very, it's a speedy transition from one extreme to another.
Yeah, well, I guess the way we get around that is to just like be around ourselves. I mean, there's nobody in this band that really lets the other one's ego get out of the way.
Our approach was always sort of more from the art school dropout kind of sort of arty scene in New York and the little music world that we were from. So getting into the showbiz world and being sort of under the microscope, as it were.
Yeah.
So, wow, this is really whoa.
She's a shy personality who created this persona and worked the persona so well.
Yeah.
She really did. But then she would go back to her hotel room, and just want to relax and like get out of the persona a little and become Debbie again, and
How did
she would have
that
to be-
person differ?
It's not that much of a difference at all. It's just that it's a stage thing. When she steps on there, she gives it her all, and when she comes off, then she's questioned about it, and then she can't slip out of it sometimes.
I mean, the image just kind of tends to get somewhat homogenized, as the more success you get in, the record companies get into the marketing aspects, and here's a beautiful woman, let's market that, which I can understand. And, there was a kind of a reverse kind of stress on the band, I think, that kind of drew us apart somewhat because, we always did kind of portray Blondie as a group to a certain degree. I mean, whereas we all contribute to it, we all were on the album covers and all that. And I mean, that was a conscious decision on our part.
What were the things that you really didn't enjoy about Blondie the first time around?
We were sort of in this trap, it was, we're sort of locked into this, format of cutesiness, and I got really sick of that personally. I mean, I sort of outgrew it.
I think we were tagged as being difficult because we were pretty crazy and burned out and nuts by the end of the Blondie thing too. And I don't think we had such a great reputation in a way.
In what way difficult, though? What's perceived as difficult?
The whole 9 yards, whatever, having fist fights on stage, all that stuff.
I suppose that could qualify, yeah.
It wasn't, none of that stuff was really that severe, but I think it got around that we were probably worse than we actually were.
I'm on it, 2 weeks ago, Saturday was on me. I'd like a show.
You started out as a punk band, and are remembered as a punk band.
Well, we
But
always, we always said pop, though.
Yeah, and I would also say that you successfully crossed over into disco at a time when disco was really cheesy, but you did it with style.
Well,
Thank you.
we thought we were just being like Kraftwerk, actually.
It was a gas. Soon turned out, had a heart of glass.
We were more focused on the electronic elements involved with that than the disco whole thing itself. You know, it was right at the height of that disco sucks period, so it was a...
When you sat down and recorded and arranged tracks like Heart of Glass, were you aware that this was a bit of a shift in direction for Blondie? And was it conscious?
No, once again, it was just what we wanted to do.
No, I think if we had done
That
a,
felt good.
you know, like a whole series of songs like that, you know, instead of it just being one, I think that
Yeah.
would have indicated something else. But it was just a, you know, a little twist. You know, we gave it a little twist.
The only song I was really sure of was Tide is High, and that wasn't our song. That was, I got on a compilation record of reggae songs, and that's the only time I was really sure it was going to be a hit.
Fat Five Freddy told me everybody's fly. DJ spinning, I said, my, flash is fast, flash is cool, Francois, c'est pas, flash ain't no do.
When you sit back and look at the influence you've had as a band on the history of pop music, where do you think that you've helped and contributed?
Well, it sort of opened up, it freed up a lot of interracial kind of things. I think that, you know, mixing elements of, you know, of R&B and
You remember the girl thing? No, that too?
yeah, well, that's R&B, isn't it?
Well, I think the female aspect, you know, Debbie...
I think you're not doing yourself justice here.
Yeah.
You were a huge inspiration
Oh, right,
to
women,
so
right,
many
right,
women.
yeah. Right, that.
Oh, yes, I'm a woman. Oh, yeah, well, that's, I mean, I don't even think of it like that. I'm just sort of approached it from a very stubborn point of view. And I had, you know, Chris was always very supportive to me. So it wasn't like I was sort of out there alone, you know, we were always a couple. But if it hadn't been for Chris, you know, sort of saying yes, you know, you know, and using his, he does have a really logical mind, you know, and clear, he's very clear, you know, about things. And, you know, when he sees bullshit, he knows it's bullshit.
So you're saying you couldn't have done that without Chris, really?
I don't think so. I don't think I would have.
Thank you.
When you look back to the dreams and the ambitions that you had when you were all sharing a loft apartment, has the reality of Blondie lived up to your wildest expectations?
I feel as though we're sort of living on the other side of the dream now. You know, like the dream came true, and that's great. And now we just got it like we're carrying on, you know? It's probably more than we expected.
I don't know if I really had a full-fledged picture or dream. You know, I sort of was very open-minded about it and, you know, looking for adventure.
I was kind of disappointed that we stopped when we did, to tell you the
Really?
truth. Yeah.
In retrospect, I'm glad, because I think we were at a point that if we had gone on to like 85 and made progressively less and less inspired records, we wouldn't have left a little bit of a legend behind like we did.
I, for one, certainly wouldn't want to have traded places with anybody. I really have had a good time with all this stuff, and I'm still having a good time.